No, yes, okay. All right, welcome everyone. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Directors for the Granada Community Services District for Thursday, January 15th, 2026. Can we have a roll call, please?
Here.
Director Marsh. Here. Director Bowles. Here. Director Dodds.
Here.
Director Rand, not in attendance tonight. We also have General Manager Chuck Duffy, Assistant General Manager Hope Atmore, and Legal Counsel Bill Parkins.
Great. Before we start, I'd just like to say a thank you to Jen Randall for doing such a great job of serving as president during the past year. And I'm excited to work with Wanda Bowles as vice president and with the entire board for the year. So I'm looking forward to a great year. Next, we have general public participation, and we have a speaker. If you could come to the lectern here, and to understand we can't really address any issue you raised tonight, but we can listen and then get back to you.
So we just
Tell us your name, please.
my name is Cesar Castillo from Granada Mini Market. We were we just came to discuss the location of our food truck.
Okay, could you tell us your issue so that we can,
So,
well, we won't be able to respond to that, but we can certainly,
Yeah, so I help my parents out at our mini market right down the street at 522 Avenue Alhambra. And I'm not too sure because I wasn't present. Somebody wanted us to move our food truck from the location that it was located at. I was just wondering what the concerns were with the location.
It was in the law. I mean, it was in the skate.
it was overnight there or?
No, during the day.
During the day.
But then.
And hope you can give a little background on our.
Yeah, I mean, is it okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I don't want to take over this.
Hope Atmore, our
Yeah,
assistant
so
general manager.
on Monday, Nora and I both noticed that they were down there, and just, because the ordinance code is very specific about not having any vending at the site, we just let them know that by the end of the day, we needed them to go and to come and talk to you at the meeting. Yeah, because, there's not a lot of locations. They do have a health permit, they have all those things, but if the district board wanted to grant a permit or develop a system for granting permits for food vendors, then that would be something that you guys would want to discuss in a future meeting, obviously. But I had recommended that they come in and talk to you about, locations for the food truck.
Yeah, I was just wondering because we're not there all day. We're just for a couple of hours. I was just wondering if it'll be fine with you guys if we do vend there at that location.
Can you explain the ordinance?
I have it in front of me, I'm sorry. But I can send it out to you afterwards. There's a specific ordinance about parks and not vending of, items, clothing, food, and alcohol, specifically on that parcel. But it does also say that the general manager or his appointee or the board can issue a permit to allow that. We've never done one in the past, as far as I know.
No, we haven't.
So it would just be something we need to develop.
Okay, so it needs a permit and yes, because it didn't have a permit,
Correct, yeah, but there is an allowance in the ordinance code if you want to look at that.
but we don't have a process yet.
We don't.
And this was on, in the dirt lot,
Yes.
not because I've seen food trucks on Highway 1,
Right.
So-
but that's not you, right?
No, so we were on Highway 1 and we were stationed right here by where all the surfers park.
Mhm.
And the police actually moved us to that lot where we parked.
Okay.
Oh, sure. Sure, something moving on.
Okay.
Park on the street on Obispo?
I don't know. I don't know if they tried that or not. That would be probably a county. Have you tried parking?
I have.
So can we put this on the next agenda and have more information and what our options are?
Pros, cons.
Yeah, this was just part of the big, broad Parks and Recreation ordinance we did whenever, eight years ago. And at the time, we were having people set up vending shops, T-shirt sales and things like that. And we were worried about, are they legal, all this kind of stuff. So Jonathan put that in the code. But obviously, it gives your board or me discretion.
Well, I don't think we can
No, we can't do anything tonight. So yeah, so we'll put it on the agenda.
in a month. I'm sorry, we only meet once a month, but our next meeting, we will look at this and our staff will bring us back a good report on what our options are and the pros and cons.
Okay.
Okay?
That's
Thank
something.
Right.
So I was just like wondering, could we continue to vendor there for the
Not
meantime?
until we change the ordinance.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay, so that would be enforced by who?
Us calling the sheriff, right?
The district owns
So
the,
that's our property, yeah.
Okay.
And we have a rule against it, and we can't just go against the rule against it, but we're gonna look at it at our next meeting of whether we can figure out a way to make it possible for us to give a permit to specific people who meet some kind of criteria potentially. I'm not saying we will do it, but that's the option, is
Okay.
we'll do that at our next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. I'm glad it sells the best avocados.
it's the class food mart.
Oh, yeah.
This is the next door. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had a food truck,
It's new.
but I've seen the food truck.
Anything else on general public participation? Anything from the,
From Zoom?
no, I don't see anything. So we're moving on to regular meeting agenda, park and recreation activities.
So we continue with our small but mighty conference. Our chair yoga resumed. It's continued to be very well attended. I think we had 10 people there again this week. We had another sound bath. We're doing that monthly as well. Quarterly recycling is coming up this Saturday. So if you have items to recycle, they will be down at Skate Lot starting at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. We started our introduction to acrylics painting with Claudia Marshall this week. It's going to be a 5-week series, and it's sold out. She had 10 students sign up, so that's great. We are also talking to somebody about offering this introduction to sewing classes that might be coming up, as well as a writing workshop. And then Barbara and I have discussed it, trying to get a couple of history walks going.
And Nancy as well.
And then I'm also gonna, I have a little reminder on my calendar to reach out to Suzanne Elliott again now, because we're getting into sort of the spring season, so it can be the foraging walk.
And I would also like to do Discover Deer Creek Walk.
Yeah,
The RCD was interested, but that was when I was having my surgery, so I couldn't do it. But I think it would be fun. And I've actually walked it a couple of times of going from where it hits the Burnham Strip up into GGNRA and follow Deer Creek. And it's very interesting because it goes through all kinds of backyards and then it jumps. You have to go back and go around to follow it. It's kind of fun. And I think people enjoy doing it.
yeah, and we started that email thread, so I will follow up with them and see if they've got, because RCD definitely has somebody who was interested in leading with you, so I'll follow up with them and see if we can get that on the calendar. That's a good.
Yeah.
Far up does it go?
It goes pretty far up and then it continues up. I didn't even actually go up into GNRA. There's kind of a mystery place where there's parking and it looks like people can park there to go the trails up, but there's nothing official looking there at all. So I'm not sure what the status of it is, but you know, it's Deer Creek is a big creek and there's the issues around it and how it impacts the harbor and so forth. And for us to see, for people to see where it comes from would be really interesting.
Do you know where the farm is at the top of Pocono? Well, where they come.
Yeah.
Heard about it, I've never seen it.
It's good, but you end up there.
Okay.
Way up.
Way up there.
Hope
If
I
you walk the neighborhood for election, that you'll find.
Have there been any calls or any interest or questions about, tech tutoring?
No, we
Okay.
haven't had any, I mean, I would expect it to be coming from senior co-siders because they were gonna take the
Right.
signups.
Right. I mean, we had the signups for several months and we had a few people here and there. And then we had someone dedicated to coming here, but then there, seemed the interest seemed to fall off. So we haven't advertised it
Yeah.
at senior co-siders lately, but
Right, it's still, I think it's still in the Beacon newsletter.
okay.
I think it's listed, but
Yeah.
I think it's sort of become a placeholder. So maybe it
Yeah.
might be that they need to sort of do a little push to see if anybody would like tutoring up here.
Well, we are doing house calls for seniors in need for some help at home or, TVs, computers, and setting up printers, things like that. So, and that's on all along the coast.
Right. website, so maybe we can advertise that on behalf of senior co-centers to help get the word out.
It's
Yeah,
a wonderful thing that you do. So,
thank you.
and then we could probably later in the spring, we can do a nature walk again at Quarry Park. And I would challenge the community. I mean, all the people who are watching tonight, if you have an idea of something that would be fun for us to do for outreach, let's think about it. Get some more stuff, interaction with the community. And I think walks are a really fun way to do it. So we did have a history of the Harvard walk at one point set up. We should look
That
and
would be
see
good.
if we could do that again.
That would be nice.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, we can reach out to your networks, as well.
Someone in particular did it?
Jim Pruitt,
Oh,
the Harvard master.
oh,
And I think there was something, it was weather or something that came up, 17.
Yeah, I forgot why. Yeah. Anyway, so exciting to see us getting a recreation program.
Yes, and then one other thing, I believe it's April 24th, but the San Mateo County Parks reached out and they're gonna do their Spring Fest at Quarry Park again. And GCSD will participate and, share information about what we do and so forth. So that'll be coming in April as well.
It's great.
And then the second thing, under Parks and Recreation, we just did a sort of brief update on the meeting discussions. Following the last meeting, Chuck and I reached out to Nicholas Paulron and Justin Mates again and let them know sort of the concerns and questions, follow-up questions and so forth. And we actually have a meeting with them tomorrow. So we don't have a lot to report on that, except that there is another meeting, so we'll have another discussion.
Yeah, I went to a meeting at Ray's office, forget what it was about, but Nicholas was there and I chatted with him and I told him, somebody needs to pay attention to this. And he said, send me the materials. And I did. I haven't heard anything back, but just for the community, we have a very well-written legal opinion that says the medians belong to the county, not to the adjacent property owners. And we have a document written by a local historian, which adds credibility to that report. And I think that should matter to the people of this community because they're being told that they are responsible and liable for anything that happens on the medians. And based on our excellent attorneys, that may indeed not be the case.
I think it's gonna have to be the homeowners nearby
Yeah,
that can use that and challenge, I mean, they have standing to challenge it. County's not under no obligation to accept an opinion from us, but the homeowners who are the ones who are affected by it. And, we gave it to them when we had the Balboa discussion.
right.
And we put it in our agenda and I brought it to the attention of one of the homeowners and she was a bit disparaging about it. I said, but that's something that you could use to challenge them.
right.
And she just didn't want to.
Yeah. Well, I wonder about the people who had the tree from the medians fall on their cars.
Yes, we've had lots of
I've
issues
had
in the
some-
last 30
Some
days.
thoughts about this.
I know that, I think his name is Michael, who was in Portola, had asked Hope for all the background and she gave him that. And he was trying to get the county to take out the one tree that's left that hasn't fallen on the house yet. And he was getting nowhere with the county council.
But it's when you made your statement before, it's kind of yes and no. Yes, we don't have anything to do with it. And you're right, it is a homeowner to the county. And we keep telling them that. Now, they obviously don't want to fight the county because it's the county and they've got legal representation and things like that. But at the end of the day, when we sent our email reply to the county and Hope and I were going through all the bullet points, the first bullet point was the strongest bullet point, which is we think you legally own it already. So how could we enter into an MOU with you? Because we'd be going against our own legal opinion. So it doesn't concern us now, but it is the first impediment towards entering into an MOU.
Said Ray's proposal, it was really two steps. One was to take them by eminent domain, even though that's, as we think, that's not a necessary process because they already own them. And then once they own them by eminent domain, so they're in an ownership position, then do an MOU with us. I'm just not clear whether the county has any interest in doing the eminent domain if they're not going to get an MOU with us. I think they don't want to own them to own them. My sense is.
I get the same. It's more than a vibe.
That's why they asked Hope if we would do the outreach on the eminent domain.
Right.
That's their interest. That's not our interest.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to do that, then it's just enough, more information.
And every month I pull up and I look at the pines leaning. Yeah.
I mean, Ray told me he thought that the county charged people and those fell over. I said, go talk to Lenny. I'm sure Lenny has never paid for the 4 or 5 pine trees that have fallen over across from her house.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, we have a discussion with them later, so we'll
Well,
find
and
out.
just as one last thing, which is we have an excellent legal opinion and a historian's opinion. And when asked, they have so far nothing to provide. They say we have some emails. Say, well, can we see the emails? And they have not provided them. So
Yeah, and that's why I said, yeah, I don't know, this is Bill's bailiwick and I don't want to talk about legal stuff in an open session, but I don't know how comfortable Bill would be. We think they own it. They declare eminent domain on something they own, and now I've got to go to Bill and go, you okay with this? Is this kosher?
Well, we need to be okay with it, do it.
no, it's not really our, yeah.
No, I'm talking about if they ask us to do the MOU. Yeah.
Well, I just want to, so the variance ordinance, right? And we do all this analysis and they send us a title report. They send us a parcel map. I have yet to see one parcel that includes the median.
Right.
Yeah, that's
No,
right.
no parcel.
And
So, I
everybody's
mean,
deed,
how can
nobody's
you-
deed has it.
Right.
Their
Yeah,
deeds don't
so-
have it, their title reports don't have
So
it.
you can't
Yeah.
own more than what you rented.
Yeah.
Right? And I think I stand by our opinion.
Yeah.
And
Well, I don't think there's any
and
denying
I don't
that.
think, from a logical perspective, that any other conclusion doesn't make sense.
Right, but let's say magically they went out there and talked to all the
They did,
16
yeah.
people on the thing and they all agreed and they did eminent domain.
Let's say they didn't all agree.
Well, let's say that, but if they don't all agree, it's a dead issue, so.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But if they do all
This
agree,
uncertainty, right? That doesn't exist.
Right.
It's more like 100.
I was just doing the first block. I don't think they can get 16, much less 100.
The really good question to ask earlier rather than later is, do they have any interest in funding any changes or updates to the medians before, as a part of the MOU? And if their county executive's paradigm is, we'll just take the medians and give them to GCSD as is, then they need to tell us that now.
And all this ignores the fact that your board hasn't really weighed in on whether you want that. I mean, you kind of have and said, no, we're focusing on,
Right.
on the park. And
Take 'em in
now you
10
get,
years.
now you get medians again
Depends
magically.
on-
Let's say we get them, right? Do we want people coming going, when are you going to do something on the median? Right.
That's why the question of Ray said, well, he was very careful in his language. He didn't say they would do anything on medians. He said, you can ask them. And so I think we should ask them up front. Will they take out all the fire danger trees? And will they provide some funding in perpetuity for us to do the maintenance that they've been doing and paying for? It's just a straight up question.
And that's the stuff we listed out on the email.
I
Yeah.
thought he alluded to a one-time service of the medians before transferring to.
He alluded to that.
Yes, but he didn't name a price or describe.
Well,
any of
and
the
again,
service.
we just went through this down south, taking down those big trees. It's $12,000, $16,000. It's crazy.
His response generally on those things was, you could ask them that as part of the MOU, just tell them you want that as part of the MOU. So but I think if they early know that, oh no, we're not going to invest, they wouldn't invest in buying the properties by eminent domain. So I don't have any hints that they would invest in doing any improvements on the medians before turning them over. It's just taking it from their liability to our liability.
They have said that they would support tree removals in response to community pressure. And maybe we could manage that, but the last thing I want to do is ask this community whether or not to take out trees. So anyway, I think we should move on.
Yeah, as whoever said last time, you're damned if you don't, you're damned if you do.
Yeah.
You take out trees, people move down, even if you don't take out trees, people move down.
Well, and the trees are taking themselves out, the weather.
Bring under,
Administration.
plan and recreation stuff. I bring this up. I just like to say a thank you to Nora, our staff person. Is Nora's last name? Man. This is something I've been wanting. You all are serving on this board. People serve on this board for years. A lot of people worked really hard. And I wasn't looking for anything fancy. I'm not looking for brass plaques or anything, but I wanted something that recognized all the people who had worked for Granada Sanitary District and then Granada Community Services District. And so it was not easy. She worked really hard on it, I think, and discovered, found the years of each person. So this is going to be posted somewhere near the door. Again, it's not going to be a big fancy thing, but it's going to be to say, look, John Gardner was on the Senate District 1958 to 1960. And I've heard a lot of these names. I've met some of these people as you get down to the end here. But I just felt like Jim Blanchard. I remember Jim Blanchard. I served with him and on SAM. So I'm just very pleased, and I want to just thank Nora for all her hard work in making this happen. And I'm really just pleased because your names will all be on it, and it will get updated, and it'll sit by the door and say, it's hard work doing some of this stuff. Well done.
She ended up spending a lot of time going through it's from the 60s and 70s to get answers on census. On so why they show a start date, end date, and just had a question. She really had to go through a quite a bit.
There's a woman who was in a car accident, was killed on her way to the meeting. So, it's just, these people all give a lot. Larry Pollard, Fran's husband, and Fran, of course, as well. So anyway, my appreciation and look forward to, I'm sure not many people will notice it, but I will and say, yeah. All right, moving on to proposal for additional civil engineering services by UKF. Oh, can I just see before we go into this? I love this next set of agenda items. These are all things that are moving the park forward, and it's so exciting. Anyway.
Anyone, did we have any public comment on the parks?
Oh, no, we did not. I didn't ask, and you're right. Any public comment on parks and recreation activities? Thank you, Nancy. I will move on to the civil engineering services by BKF. No, that's great. Thank you for reminding me.
And let me start that. I'll take this. So let me start that by kind of giving a broad overview. As Barbara says, this is the big push to get the park permitted, the CDP or the CDP process and whatnot. So the next four items are the four consultants we've got on this team. The fourth one is a new consultant for the traffic management. So basically, I'll just kind of go through them, what they're doing, and just do it all four at the same time. So BKF engineers are civil engineers on the project. They've been on since we started our real trust on this thing. So they've got an additional scope of services. They're going to do a 60% design. They're going to do a little more stormwater work because we changed the stormwater drains. And they're going to provide a cost estimate for the work on the park. And we're looking for a not to exceed amount of $40,000 for them. They actually still have, what did you tell me, Hope? 78,000 from their original budget. So
they need both.
For the most part, they gave us this, they don't need both. They gave us this scope because it changes the scope of their original proposal. So, but they still have money left over. So it's not, yeah.
All that for 40,000 is what you're saying.
Right. So the next one is Group 4 Architects. They're the ones who designed the recreation center. They're doing a couple smaller things. They're responding to comments from the CDP process. They're doing a lighting plan, which there's no lighting, so it's going to be quick. And they're also doing
Dark skies.
Yeah, and they're also doing a cost estimate, having somebody else do a cost estimate as well. And theirs is going to be a not to exceed 15,000. The next one is Landscape Architectural Services by KCRH. That's Tom Conroy. We've all seen Tom. I was joking, he's like kind of a de facto project manager, and I think he slowly realized that. So I enjoy that. So, and he's done a great job.
Done a great job.
Yeah, and he does the lion's share of the work, obviously, and will continue to do so through this permitting process. So he's got a not to exceed amount of $95,000. And then the fifth one, the Traffic Analysis and Mitigation Plan by AMG Engineers. That's a brand new analysis. That was a requirement of the county when we went through the CDP process. We went out and got 3 bids. Staff met with Tom and Sean Rose, our project manager, reviewed the proposals, and we decided to pick AMG, and Sean Rose has worked with them in the past. Thinks they'll do a good job. So that's the broad, and that's a not to exceed amount of $70,000. So that's the broad overview. So does anyone have any questions?
Yes. Comments from the board?
One comment is on KCRH. I'm really would expect that the arborist report, it will assess the condition of the trees. And if it's recommendations on any heritage trees, cost less than $6,500.
I think he's going out tomorrow, Monday.
Just for the
That should
public, there
should be
are,
as long as the lighting,
there are no trees that are probably
as long as the lighting plan.
One tree we had right by the preschool, somebody cut down.
Yeah, oh, we never knew who it was.
Tree by the preschool, it has to be
Small. tree.
Analyzed and decided if it's important to preserve.
And they do have to actually go along the creek, measure a lot, you know, they actually have to go in.
I forgot about the little, okay, that's fair.
Comments from anyone on these? Can we move on these?
I was going to ask Bill that. Are you comfortable with moving all
Contract
four
that
at
will-
once?
So we'll just take public comment first.
I know,
before we
but-
do that. And just notes and follow that we're taking items 2, 3, 4, and 5 in one motion.
Okay, noting that, do we have comments first from the board? Other than what we've already had?
Actually, I do have one question. Will we, each of them has something in their proposal about developing costs.
Yes,
Will we have then a better look forward at,
I'm glad you brought that up. Yes, and I was going to add that. Yes, I forgot it though.
let's know whether we have 10 year, 20-year note.
Yeah,
or 30
Right,
year note.
and that is the whole goal of this too, because now we're in the real nuts and bolts of this stuff, and we got to put together a cost estimate to figure out phasing and things like that. Thanks for reminding me of that.
so I look forward to those agenda items in the months ahead. Yeah. Do we have any comments from the public on these 4 contracts that we are proposing to vote on as a package to move the planning process forward on the park? Seeing none, would someone like to make a motion?
Can I read the motion?
Oh,
Someone
have a
move it?
motion.
Oh,
Please.
gets technical. So
Yeah, please.
So I'd like to move approval of the additional services, items 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the first one for BKF would be not to exceed 40,000. Item 3, architectural services by group 4, not to exceed 15,000. Item 4, KCRH, not to exceed 95,000. And traffic and mitigation plan by AMG, not to exceed 70,000. Would someone like to make that motion?
A second?
A second.
Any further discussion? Should we have a roll call vote or,
Or you can just vote.
okay, all those in favor say aye.
Right.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Very exciting to move this along.
Yes.
It is.
I love this level of detail. And actually, we did have a number of members of the public ask about traffic study. I know in Secor, we didn't do one, which we didn't have to. So
There we are.
we'll be interested in seeing the traffic study.
Great. Anything else on that item? All right, moving on to consideration of changing the starting time for the district regular board.
So this item was requested by Director Marsh at the last meeting. As mentioned in the memo, we did move last year to move the meeting from, or I'm sorry, in September of 2023, we moved it from 7:30 to 7 p.m. And I think sometimes the argument against going earlier is that if people are working, it might be hard for them to get there, but this is for the board to discuss and decide. That the motion, the recommendation here is to move the meeting up to 6:30 start time.
We also moved closed sessions from before 7:30 or 7 to after, so that we have a regular starting time, because they used to, special meetings used to be at 6 or 6:30.
Yeah,
See,
and we had a lot more
Special.
before
Special
your
meetings.
time. Yeah, a lot more.
okay. So what is the sense of the board? That didn't matter to me. I can get here by 6:30.
I don't have a strong feeling. It's just by 9 o'clock, I start to fade. So it's more for those
Agreed.
longer meetings. But I appreciate people have kids that they want to have dinner with, and some people have commutes. And so that's why I don't have a strong feeling. I just wanted to sound.
I would also say future boards could easily change it back. If we have someone
Yeah.
with a job that they can't get here till 7, that would be easily changed, change that time at when that happened. So I think that was something that was important to me, that we,
We're not inflexible.
right, and that working parents, could do this.
Would that work for you,
Matt,
Matt?
what about you?
7 works really well for me because I work and have a leisurely dinner with family, and then I can get here without rushing.
Mhm.
6:30 would put a little more pressure on me. So just for future members, if they're employed and have families, I think 7 would work better for those people and myself.
Then I'm fine with leaving it the way it is.
Yeah.
And as a reminder, there is also a cutoff at 10 o'clock in our bylaws that says 10 o'clock,
We
we're
changed that.
done, unless somebody makes a motion to.
That still exists?
Can we change that to 9?
Seriously?
Yeah.
Well, we have that at Sam at 9
Sam has
o'clock,
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock, and
I
so.
know that cutoff was there in the times that we've been to 8:30.
I'd have bet money that I got rid of that because they used to get to 10 o'clock and then hold a vote, a discussion and a motion whether to extend it. Then
Sam doesn't.
then they would talk and talk and talk, and they'd have to make another one.
It actually went pretty
Try to
quickly.
be efficient in our meeting.
Yes.
But
Well, this one is sailing along, so
we won't have anything more controversial that would fall.
You just passed.
nothing.
I think I just changed that.
All right,
Thank
Okay,
you.
so we'll leave it at 7.
yeah, I'm fine
Okay,
with 7.
leave it at
Yeah.
7.
Thank you.
Engineers, anything from the public on that? Yes, but who's our number one fan? I like that.
There's a good place.
Is there
6.0 public place in Oregon.
All right, moving on to engineers report.
Nothing further than what John put in his thing. We're processing the 6-year CIP as we've talked about. They're reviewing the results of the CCTV they did. I think we reported at the last meeting that we found out a lot of the sewers weren't as old as we thought. And Hope and I talked about this before. We only had 1,300 feet of sewer main. And then you'll correct me, but I'll just keep going from the 1920s. Older than 100 years. Okay, let's call it that.
No, it doesn't really matter. It's just that they worked really hard to put in the
Right, so
infrastructure.
I thought we had, the plan showed we had 10,000 feet, and so 1,300.
This is actually really good news for the
Yes.
community. We have, new lines, much more new line than we thought we did, and only a few. So will the CIP address mostly the old lines?
CIP will usually, we try and address it, but if there's other lines that are younger, if you will, but more in egregious shape, we'll obviously tackle that, but yeah.
And so when will we see that plan? Next week?
I'd probably say certainly a month from now, we'll see what we're gonna do. That's all I've got on that. Any questions? Did you ask for public? Can't remember.
Yeah. Any comments from the public on the age of our sewer lines? Also, just I picked up on the last SAM meeting, the length of sewer lines that each agency had, and I think SAM has 37, we have 33 miles.
Yes.
And then,
It's in-
yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. I just never
it's almost
focused on
like 7.
I'm sorry, half.
Yeah.
Half Moon
Moon
Bay.
has 37,
37.
33, Montera has 27, and Sam has 7.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting,
Yeah.
just I've never really put it in those numbers
We're
before.
pretty spread out.
Yeah. Right, moving on to Florida and Sewer Authority mid-coastside meetings. Nancy, you want to take this? Sure.
First of all, actually,
Wait, can I say one thing?
you absolutely.
Our flow last month, I started this, was it 15.6%. And that's going down. It just shows we're saving water, I think. And it's not quite clear why it's happening, but we are being very frugal with our flows in our houses. And this is going to save our community real money. If it continues, they only reevaluate it once a year. So it may go back up, but it's really good news that it's this toilet down.
People say GCSD.
Yes, just don't flush your toilet.
Let's toilet flush.
But actually it's based on water, it's uses, yeah.
Well, that's the floods and thing. Yeah, and it's not just toilets, it's bathtubs,
Yeah.
washing
Mhm.
machines, dishwashers, sinks, showers. People think of toilets when they think of the wastewater. It's all
But
the
it's
water.
everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, so
Irrigation?
shouldn't be irrigation, but
Well, I
Nobody
mean,
does that.
it's by water use, so.
No,
no, it's by the
No.
flow through the pipe to through the intertime.
Commercial is by water use. That's how we calculate. As
okay.
far as the flow that
Yeah.
is being metered by
Right.
Sam, it's just flow.
Okay, got it.
And I did check, it is the million gallons per day that is going down a little bit. And each full percent that we get our share down saves the district about $100,000. So it's real money to save
yeah, and I mentioned this last month, but first,
here.
in 2016, we were at about 28%. So as Sam's costs have been going up, you know, the bad news, good news is our
Our share
percentage
is
has
down.
been going down.
Pays up to about 63%. Other thing, and it's actually kind of related to our pipes, is all the rain events that we had through December and the week before Christmas and so on. We're fine in terms of flow. I think the highest flow in the treatment plant was just under 9 million gallons per day. It can go up to 15. We think we've had it beyond 15 that one occasion. Normal flow is less than 2 million gallons a day. So it went up to about 9. But the Princeton pump station in particular, which has new pumps, less horsepower, more efficient, and they pump a little less. The old pumps would pump 1,400 gallons an hour. These together pump about 1,300 gallons an hour. But it really, the most concern about inflow and inundation was around the Princeton pump station, which has flow from Clipper Ridge, Princeton, and the very northern part of El Granada. And so I thought that's worth watching as you go through looking at the lines, just to check, do we have, any lines there that could be creating more inflow than we knew about? Since that seemed to be the one that they've now bought an extra pump that they designed it so you can hook on an extra pump that they're going to test out so that they can pump it out more quickly. But the wet well came within 2 feet of overflow. And that was, 2 inches in a few hours rain. It was not the biggest rain they've had. And so I just thought, since it's coming from our area, we should just, when we're looking at those CCTV things, just see if.
Well, yeah, I'm going to ask Sam about that. It's more disturbing is we just paid $2.6 million for a new pump station. And
Yeah,
we shouldn't be having this discussion.
Apparently we got more efficient pumps, but not more flow than we had before.
Well, it's a mystery because they have these 2 good pumps. They put the pump on. They needed the second pump. The pump only increased the
By about another
pumping
50 million, yeah, 50,
It-
that,
you know, like-
gallons per hour.
15%, only 20%. So why weren't the 2 pumps able to increase the amount that they were pumping?
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought one did 650 and the other did like 630 or something.
No,
Well,
no.
yeah. Well, this-
The
and it-
combined ones did only slightly better than 1 pump, is
Yeah,
my
and
understanding.
when you look at the pumps, I was just talking to Hope about this today. We're talking about Portola pump station. It's not necessarily linear. The pump is part of the force main as well, or vice versa. The force main is part of the pump, and they've got coefficients of friction. So basically, if you got 2 of the same size pumps, when you turn the second one on, it doesn't double the flow because
Right,
you're
it's the
trying
pumps,
to.
the same,
It's
the
it's
pipes
it's
and
a
Size
function.
of the pipe.
Right, and it's how much it can take, and that's the constriction at Portola. They turn all those pumps on. It's not the pump power, it's the pipe. And I'm repeating what engineers have told me, so I don't come off as an expert here.
But I
Right?
think they're surprised
I
at
am
this
too.
result. Yeah.
I'll ask Sam about that.
Yeah, because it's when you have the GM meeting, it seemed to be the only thing that caused concern. There was no concern with the king tides. There was no concern from the creek. It was just the power outages caused more problems than the rain because when you don't have power, the pumps don't work. And so parts of Montero had no power for 3 days. And so they were having to go, they went ahead of the storms and filled all the fuel for all the generators. And they had to keep going back to refill the fuel, and
Wow.
keep them going.
And I will say the SAM staff worked really hard.
Yeah.
They were out there when the power was out, bringing generators, getting generators, setting up, checking them, making sure they were working to keep the pump stations open. I really do think they, the PG&E people worked really hard, and so did the SAM people. And I think the PG&E people were more visible, but the SAM people did a really good job.
It's
Laid
not
out
a
yard.
good crew,
Yeah.
but from the night of the 22nd, when the power first went out, to all the way through to, I think Montana didn't get power back until the 26th.
Yeah.
So they were working 24 hours from the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th, all through the holiday. So they really just did a terrific job.
Yeah.
Tim was talking about, you gotta send them home sometimes, even though they will stay and work because they're getting punchy. That's not right. They did a great job. The other, we didn't have actually that much on the SAM agenda. We changed officers. So Catherine Slater Carter is now chair. I'm vice chair. Paul Nagagast is treasurer secretary. Barbara and I switched, so I'm on the finance committee and Barbara's on the ops committee. So we had a finance committee today. And Chuck and I have been working over the last week. As Chuck has mentioned at the last two meetings, where we've been studying particularly how the infrastructure is budgeted and things that you have to do for infrastructure that frankly just weren't budgeted. And we've distilled that down to, when you want to change, you should describe the problem. So to a paper that I will send out to the board now that we've reviewed it at the finance committee, where in the situation is they budget specific projects, Montero Force Main, a truck, and a boiler installation this time. Those numbers for those add up to the exact number that's in the budget for infrastructure. When they track it, they only track that one big number. But also in the budget, and I just never noticed this page before you get to the detail that has those three things, there's a page that says here are ongoing projects. And the projects that were initially approved and budgeted in 2021, 2022, and 2023. 15 or so of them are still ongoing, and there are no numbers next to those ongoing projects. But virtually all of them has exceeded the initial budget. The average is about 40%, but it ranges from 10% to 300%. And so the way that Sam has managed the infrastructure budget is when they get the big number, any infrastructure comes out of that number. So the ongoing projects, and then there's something that actually we always should have budgeted and never have, which is there are always incidentals. Diffusers or the electrical panel, and it last year was $450,000 worth of not specific line items. This year, if I'm reading the report right, it's up to about 380,000. That's not an unusual amount for a plant, Chuck tells me, of this size. It's just there's no budget line for it. So it's also coming out of the infrastructure. So to quote Paul Nagagast today, what I finally got is the $3 million we gave last year for the Montero Force Main has been used as a reserve to cover the ongoing costs for the ongoing projects. Yes.
Previously approved
And
projects.
Excess.
Yeah, they are
Because we
beyond.
funded those projects
they
in
were
prior
funded,
years
and then they're beyond their initial funding.
dramatically, so, yeah.
And so what we proposed in order to fix that from a budget standpoint is that in the next budget, we have the line items that we typically have. And we list next to all the ongoing projects, the amount of budget each of those projects will need in this year. And then we also add, there's an infrastructure line in the treatment budget. We add, just based on their historic data, whatever is the right amount there, it might be like 400,000 for all of the incidental spends over $5,000 that can be capitalized, which have come out of the infrastructure line, so that it will all be visible what it is we actually need to spend for the ongoing CIP projects in the budget. And then our second ask is, and then put that in a monthly report and expand the monthly report to the whole board. You know, we had one board member today who didn't want to see all those pages, to give us the detail on each of the sections of the budget, the administration, the environment, the
Admin, treatment and environment. Yeah.
And infrastructure. And infrastructure then wouldn't be one line that says you spent 700,000 out of 3 million. It would be the specific lines for the specific projects that had been budgeted as infrastructure. So it was a longer discussion than I thought it was going to be today. And I realized after we're not all starting from the same place, because Chuck and I have been, Barbara had been talking about this since about August.
Yes.
I've been talking about it for years.
And you,
Right. Yeah.
that we have the report that showed us that we are 2 million in arrears on those projects budgeted several years ago, is because Barbara spent many, many days going through old budgets, collecting up the list of projects and getting them all on one list, which then George picked up and keeps up. But we only actually see that because Barbara created it.
Well, and I just complained about all this and, they did not want to address it. They were fine with having this big, infrastructure.
It's important to have the visibility.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I-
they know,
it's
they know what
absolutely-
they're doing, but I think today, when Paul understood that 3 million
Yeah,
the agencies provided last year for the force main, and the 3.5 million this year for force main, which would make us think, and it looks like it on paper, the member agencies have already paid 6.5 million toward the force main project, which may ultimately be 10 million. Actually, of the 3 million last year, only 600,000 went to the force main. 2.4 million went to, about 2 million went to older projects, and 450,000 went to incidental capital. This year, of the 3.5 million, it looks to me, because you have to go
I know.
digging through the numbers, about 400,000 has been spent on incidental stuff. And I haven't had time to dig through enough numbers to figure out how much is on old projects. But I'm tracking project code for 2024, which is only the Montero Force Main. It looks like this year it's so far about 800,000 toward that. It might end up 1.5 million by the time we get to May, but it won't be until May that we get the estimate from the engineering company on the costs. We're in the design phase of the build, the cost of the build for doing that. And then we're just going to have a tough next couple years budget. So they didn't give any hints on what they're working on the budget now. They will, what we agreed out of the finance committee is they will do the budget as we asked, and they will put it together like that. They will bring it to the general managers meeting sometime in the next month, review it with the general managers, and then bring it back to the finance committee for a final agreement on the budget format from the finance committee. And then once we're agreed on that, then they will change the reporting to align with it. So it ended up being about an 1.5-hour meeting with lots of discussion going in different directions. But I think we walked out with what we were asking for. And certainly I think Paul now has a real clear view of what we were asking for and why. So I think we will have a quorum of people who
Yeah.
agree that we actually need to do this.
And that's really good news because, what you said, we've all been working on you for years. Well, I've been with you too. Right. And more recently, this stuff, but, showing your financials, your detailed financials, which weren't even really that detailed, only quarterly to the finance committee. It's probably the number one thing a board should do is look at the finances, which you all understand to some extent. You don't know we're not engineers, right? It's that kind of stuff. And so I think this is a great leap that they'll have that detailed financials at each board meeting, and then it'll increase the transparency because I know he says it's transparent. I went through 12 months. I'm going to repeat it. You can't tell where that 2.4 million went. I don't think there's anything spurious about it. It went to old projects. It went to O&M.
Into the plant.
It went into the plants and all that kind of stuff, but you can't see that on the paper, and your board, your SAM board can't make decisions because they can't see that. So I think this is a great leap forward, and that's kind of part number one. Part number two of this, Nancy, if I can segue into that, is their view of when we give them money, Sam's view of when we give them money, how they can use it. And Nancy had a detailed discussion with Kishan and the finance committee about that. And at that point in time, I think we're at the point in time, we've done our research, we know what we want, we've got the reporting in place. Now I think we need Bill to send Jeremy, Sam's legal counsel, a letter saying, hey guys, when we give you $3.5 million for the Montera force main, that's for the Montera force main. And if you're going to spend it somewhere else, you better go get approval somewhere else. And that's not paper clips. That's real money, real projects. So,
And they think they have some policy that says they can
They do.
move money around, but it isn't really applicable.
no.
The other thing that I just want to raise now is, are we going to have to really take a serious look at our reserves? Because we still have to pay for the Montera force main. And I think it's going to take a chunk of our reserves. And I want this community to know that hopefully this is a one-time hit. And I mean, we are raising the rates, but I don't think we've raised the rates enough to cover the additional expenditures that we're going to have in the next 2 years, because we're on a deadline to finish the Montera force main.
I did say this in the SAM meeting, and then I expanded on it when right at the finance committee meeting today. According to the agreement with ERF, the consent decree, we have to finish the pipeline by June of 2027, which is basically the upcoming single budget year. And we still have to go through the whole SEPA and permitting process, and Kishan is still confident that would all be done by about next March, and then the actual replacing the pipe will only take a couple months. So he thinks we're on deadline. But I did say in the SAM meeting, it seems likely that we are not going to be able to budget next year $8 million, if that's what it is. And so, but ERF has actually been quite willing to work with us as long as we're showing progress. So if we have a design and we're ready to build and we need to push it from June of 2027 to December of 2027, it seems like we ought to be able to negotiate that with.
But we need to be thinking about that, and somebody has to be proactively looking at, what is the timing of that?
I think that has to come out of the budgeting, this year's budgeting process, because we have to renegotiate that, and that would allow us to spread that money over this coming budget and the next year's budget. The thing that I said, either in that last board meeting on Monday or finance committee today, in addition, was, I know I've said it to Kishan in any case, and then when the Montera force main is done, we need to look back at the CIP and push out pretty much everything else, because the member agencies, I did say it today because I said it to Paul, the member agencies may need that year to collect their rates and rebuild their reserves.
Yeah.
To an appropriate level. And so 2 years for the force main, 1 year, no new CIP, so that we can rebuild our reserves. And then we still have to look at this, at the 5-year CIP and say, is it really realistic? And do we need to do those things in that time?
We should relook.
So we, at least for those.
And quite honestly, speaking with DRF, I don't know what we're waiting for. The issues at hand right now, why even wait for the budget process? And I wouldn't take baby bites of 6 months. I'd take realistic bites of a year or a year and a half and see what they say. Again, they've worked with us when we haven't made progress, and now we're making progress, and all we can do is ask.
I think we're going to need to see the reality of at least the draft budget to persuade all across the board that we actually need to do.
And don't
Yes.
forget, at the meeting before last, we approved an additional expenditure of $430,000 to install pumps that had been purchased. That it was silly. It was clearly not a reasonable solution to leave them sitting in a warehouse when they are needed and not install them. But if we just can't keep doing, 400,000, whatever it was. We can't keep doing that. We can't keep adding other stuff. Oh, well, here's another thing I want to do. It's only $200,000 added in there. So that's another whole piece of what's happening.
Well, yes, it's basically, it's the same prior year's project carrying over, but at least in this one, we said boiler installation last year, that did get added as a line item in the budget. And we did say we will add that 386,000 as a line item in next year's budget, but it will be in addition to the 3.5 million that we had already projected for the force main.
That's my
It won't be
point.
enough for the force main.
Yeah.
Right. And that was not in our 5-year sewer service rate study. we figured we'd give them money and they would use it for that. And, the sad part is, I know you'll hate to hear this, Barbara, but it may cause us to make hard decisions and push a CIP.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll have to do what Sam could be doing.
Yeah, well,
Eight over here.
if we have yes,
Yeah.
we have to look at that. I'm perfectly happy to look at that, but I also think we have an obligation to keep fixing our pipes too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Absolutely.
And just one more thing about what's going on at Sam is, one other thing that happened is, on the top of the berm, there's a whole row of cypress trees and it went over. And so they're taking it out, but it's a little worrying that these trees are all kind of their roots are embedded in the berm that's protecting Sam. And when one went over,
Yeah.
it fixed it, but it was a big storm, but given the weather we've been having, we could have another big storm. So that's
Right.
it's another question that's out there. There's costs that could surprise us.
Yeah, I think he said he's gonna ask the engineers if we should replace the tree. But those cypresses do connect their roots. So when one goes, they may all be more weak and go. But if they are part of stabilizing the berm, then they do need to address it.
I went and looked and they've completely removed it, but yeah, it's an issue. Anyway, lots going on at Sam and
Yes.
I mean, it's appropriate for us to spend time discussing it. It's the largest part of our budget.
Yeah.
for
70%.
this.
And so you're all comfortable with me working with Bill to send
Yes.
that letter? Because I think,
And Nancy,
because they're doing it
Thank
again.
you.
They're doing it again this year.
Well-
They spent 1.9 million and that hasn't been on the Montero Force main
Right.
in the infrastructure.
Yeah,
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you. I did get pushback on
I know.
that line about purpose. If you get it for a purpose, you have to spend it for that purpose, or you have to give it back.
Right. And that's why when I read that part, I said, that's a Bill thing. Not a, so I'll work with Bill and if we can do that.
Yeah, Jeremy needs to help on it.
Anything more in the sewer authority? All right, moving on to yes, any public comment? Sorry.
We should have a little
Quiet
pop-up
today.
thing.
I'm not the only one who forgets.
I know.
Any public comment on the sewer authority? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Does anyone want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Okay. Can we have a motion on the consent? Does anyone want to discuss anything on the consent? Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent.
So moved.
Have a second? Second. Any further comments? Is there a comment?
Public. Make sure there's no public comment.
Okay, before we vote. Any comments on the motion from the public? Seeing none?
Just want to get you back.
I know. It's funny,
We need to put a post-it on that water pitcher that says the,
well, the thing is, I know perfectly well, it's just you get carried away with the momentum,
Yeah.
that you're right, a post would be a good idea. Can we have a vote on the motion?
All in favor of passing the motion to approve the consent agenda?
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Are we going to discuss the two letters?
Yes,
Okay.
and one during the general manager's report and one during the administrative.
Okay. Oh, here we are. All right, moving on to committee reports. Anyone have a committee report?
No.
Anyone from the public want to talk about committee reports?
Very good.
Attorney's reports, general manager's report.
No, we can roll the two. Which one was under mine?
The housing element and so, but we can do both.
Okay, yeah, so we had a response, I think many of you know, the school property up north here is, they're proposing to rezone it to allow for high density housing. So they sent us a request for a response letter. So we wrote them back. I think it's 12 acres, Hope.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 12 acres and
Where?
it's the school property. One of you could tell.
Oh,
better.
yes. Yeah, I saw that.
This right here.
Yes. Yes. That I seemed.
700 homes, but I have,
So theoretically, they can develop up to 70 homes per acre, and that came out to 871
Yes.
units, and that's 871 ERUs theoretically. Now, I don't think they'll, yeah.
I mean, more within density bonus too.
Right. Now, I don't think they'll be able in real life to build on that whole property because there's a lot of wetland there.
Oh, there's
and
tons of
whatnot.
wetland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So, but we have to respond in that manner. So we said yes, and there will be impacts downstream because we'll have to upsize pipes, Princeton pump station if it goes that way, things
Oh,
like that.
nice.
So, yeah. So, and then it has an impact, maybe lesser impact on the park because we're building a park, and theoretically, once again, you could have another 1,000 residents here, whatever the number is. Yeah.
Well, I did talk to Ray Mueller about this, and he talked to the county executive, and they are going to reduce the number being proposed significantly. Ray also said he's against the proposal. However, he's willing to come out and say that, but it only takes 3 of the 5 people on the Board of Supervisors, and he didn't say this, but it's true that the county is under pressure to add additional housing in the new county housing plan. And so they have identified locations in 4 different areas of the county where they can force in some high density, low income housing. So I suspect this community is going to get very happy about this when they really undertake this.
You'd look at the Cypress Point
Yeah,
pushback, but we actually, we do need housing.
I know.
We
So
just don't need 6-story houses.
No,
Well, and that area is very, very swampy, and so what is the next step then?
They're just doing an EIR for the rezoning, so we have to respond to the request for.
so they don't have a provider, they don't have a mid.
They have no- so, yeah.
This is just-
This is just the
Kind of the
rezoning.
first step like Caltrans did for their,
Yeah.
for the
But
highway.
this is rezoning, so eventually if they do indeed have a project, they'll have to do a whole nother EIR for the actual project or MND, whatever it may be.
So what do they need from us? They go forward with the environmental impact report.
They need a response from us, because I don't know, are we a responsible agency there? Yeah.
I mean, we've provided a response to the initial referral and they followed up with an email. We're gonna, I'm sure, have more discussions with them, like bring our engineer as well. But at this point, you know, they're just asking for capacity and constraints and things like that. So we're very much at a preliminary discussion point. They might ask for additional information, but I think they're gonna probably have to do those studies to complete that part of their EIR.
They're just asking for information, not permission.
Correct.
Yeah, and we don't, we
But the
still would never do this EIR, so we would not, and I have to talk with Bill about this actually to see what our further response is, because we're not going to go and do an entire service study and do engineering and spend $30,000 to figure out if you build 871 units, how big do our pipes have to be? We're not going to do that.
And who owns this property?
school
The
district.
school district owns it. So they had saved it. We actually looked at purchasing it. They had saved it for years for low income, feature housing.
Yes. Okay.
So, and I don't know that that plan has changed, but
Well, the next thing they're going to do is an initial study to see what kind of environmental review the rezoning would take. So that's, we'll have lots of opportunities to comment as we go along, but we also, the community, if there's a way we can just make it clear to the community when the time is right,
Yeah.
how they can weigh in on this project. We as an agency can really only talk about the impacts to the agency, but we can also communicate what's happening to our residents.
Yeah, I think we need to put a lot of energy into that because it's something I care a lot about. And I had no idea that there was a public comment that ended December 10th, I think. So I completely missed my opportunity as a resident to even.
it was nice how they did it at Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, right.
We were joking about that, man.
Check the state.
But the initial study will also have public comment. So that's where people need to focus next.
And we could increase awareness that there's an opportunity
Yeah.
to be heard. Because I completely missed the last round.
Yeah, if they only do what they are statutorily required to do, public comment, which I think put it in the state register and in a paper or something,
Mhm.
it's easy to miss. Where on what the Harbor District was proposing, there was more people putting more information in more places, which really helped the community.
Just to be clear, again, this is just for an EIR for rezoning. There, as part of the housing element, the state mandate is that the county has to identify potential places. It doesn't mean that a project's happening, it just means they have to go and find possible places. So if you saw that, when I circulated out to you, there were, places in Broadmoor and other unincorporated places where they were talking about, just identifying where they could set up, where they could rezone.
Oh,
It's not a project yet, it's nothing like that, it is very initial, just that the county has to do, the city of Half Moon Bay had to do the same thing recently, where they had to identify places where they could potentially, if it was rezoned, someone could potentially do a project, so it's not, right, this is not a project yet.
Although, I'll
Yes,
just caveat is, with all the new housing laws and everything, once it's designated for housing, I mean, this really is the one opportunity
Yeah,
to
it's
inform what it ultimately looks like.
it's the first step towards rezoning. Once it's rezoned, then it's much easier to move forward.
and that's when the
These days.
CUSD, the career unified school district, might then say, oh, it's been rezoned, now it's worth more, we can sell it. Because right now I don't think they've had any plan to sell the property.
And I
we-
No, like I said, we tried and they weren't interested.
We tried to get
Oh,
the
yeah.
MOU to do disc golf on the property, and then we got so far, and they were agreeable, and then said, oh, no, we have other plans now. So
Well, also, some of us took a look at the property and realized the environmental constraints. I mean, that disc golf is gonna, they were like, well, we want to put it in here in the middle of the habitat because it'll be more interesting here. It was presented as it was not really, the disc golf is not going to have environmental impacts. I guess the one more thing to point out is that the project in Moss Beach that people are pretty unhappy about was the only place that was really zoned for low-income housing. And so somebody came and built some there.
at Mid-Penn,
At Mid-Penn, yeah, and Mid-Penn evidently does a good job. The project they have in Half Moon Bay is good, but when it comes to community input on these issues, right now, there's a lot of pressure to reduce community input. And
there's a lot of pressure to actually
build more houses.
build more housing.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, and then the next one is hopes.
Yes.
Well, both of
So
those were hopes.
again, I circulated this letter to the board as well about the Surfers Beach adaptation concepts plan. We felt like it was important that we at least, even
Yes.
though they haven't started their public comment and their outreach period, we just wanted to make sure that they were aware that in their study, they referenced a parking lot and parking numerous times that, they never acknowledged to belong to. They just said there is parking that would remain. And
There was unpermitted parking.
right, there was only one mention of the park plan in their entire study. So we just wanted to make sure we got it on the record that, that entire strip is owned by us. There is a plan that parking that they think is going to remain would not remain under our park plan. And also, a couple of the proposals that they had in there included building a 45-foot tall sort of raised bypass or bridge to go over that would bisect the park. And so I also wanted to just make sure they realized that there was, whether wastewater treatment or waste storage underneath and the IPS and multiple sewer lines and that sort of thing. So yeah.
And that,
Yeah. So
I did mention it to Sam because I sent it to Jeremy and Kishan, who hadn't seen it. And so I did mention it at Sam as well. That when there is a comment period, they need to jump into and we'll keep them in the loop.
I mean, really, having Caltrans continue to sort of harden the area there on Highway 1, I mean, that serves as the barrier to protect all that infrastructure. And I think that I think even Coastal Commission would say that retreat is not necessarily an option right there if there's a different way to sort of adapt to it and work with it. So,
They keep dredging regularly.
Exactly.
And the costs The cost of building the bridge, you know, I mean, you must,
Yeah.
Which in the real world will probably be triple what they're saying.
I don't know what they're saying, but
The fire station is there.
millions and
Yeah.
Fire
millions.
station will be ready. So I hope actually I hope the fire station got the plan as well. We might send it over to the.
All right. Well, good job sending letters to represent us. I think that's an important thing for us to do. And I agree with Matt that we need to be proactive in getting information, very carefully, objective information, but just to make sure people understand what's happening because it's complicated and it's important. Future agenda, any other administrative staff items? Future agenda items.
Anything pops up during the month, give us a call. We'll put the food truck on.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The permitting process, or that's what it would be.
Right.
And it's, I mean, I've seen other vendors out there cooking on the street and stuff, but so I don't know what the situation, they're not on our lot, so they're just on the highway.
Yeah.
So this is this, yeah. So is this the first request that we've had for someone to move onto our, the property that's owned by
The
GCSD?
official one, yeah. Yeah, so
Like I said, people do go down there and sell, and we don't see it, but.
it's ever moving, when we started this whole process, it was the overnight parking of the RVs and then they had homeless camps in there. It's not
Right.
one thing, it's another. And this is a new one, so.
There was talk about the pros and cons of permitting. Is that going to be given to us prior to the next meeting to consider or just during the meeting?
To me, the issue is probably there's going to be a big legal equation to it, like what are the insurances that cover and things like that. Anecdotally, if a guy is selling tacos or whatever he's selling from the truck and you all want him to, that's your decision. But there's going to be legal issues of agreements they have to sign, what was the one we did with the library or something like that. Yeah.
Once there's one, there could be many more.
Well, that's
Right.
the other issue is that we
What do we
couldn't
want?
allow him to stay because next thing you know, we might have 6 more food trucks there by the end of the day.
Right.
Oh,
And it's that would look like,
And you guys might want that. I don't know. Right?
Maybe after the parks bill.
Right.
yeah, I
I
don't
think
know.
there's rules about vending on the street.
There could be, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I know they did say they have their health, they had their permits from the county as far as health department goes and that sort of thing, but I think it'd be insurance, it would be requirements for those permits that we would then need to keep on record, and so then are we taking on liability for that? I mean,
Right, it's in term, I mean, we're doing a park, so.
Right.
And it can't be long term.
Yeah.
although once construction's underway, I'm sure the construction workers would love their.
How would the local vendors, like the physical locations feel about having the trucks
That's always the battle, right?
pull in and
Yeah.
take
And
on
he's
business?
part of the
He's
supermarket up the street,
right
right?
down here.
Or that way.
Behind the beverage store,
Oh,
That
okay.
is-
so close to the post office.
And there's that new hot dog restaurant.
The
Well,
Brat- the
your mom's
Brat
house.
Brat House.
Yeah,
Your mom's house. Yeah, that's good.
Gladys's place
I
has
haven't been.
very good produce.
I mean, I just had a beer.
It's a weird beats. It's not hot dogs, it's like elk and venison
Oh.
and boar and rods of all different.
How are they?
Don't
It's-
It's Paul's running it. He used to work down at OPO.
Yeah,
Right?
and another guy named Casey who also worked
how
at
it's
Oak.
I think it's going good.
Good,
Yeah.
good. All right, we'd like to have a little business in El
I
Granada.
don't eat brats, but I like the beer.
I'm surprised you need a hot dog, but not an elk dog. We don't know what's in the hot dog.
Dodger ducks.
There you go.
Okay.
Anyone,
All
anything
right.
else on the agenda? Thank you. I guess then our meeting is adjourned at 15:15, not bad. All right. And actually Nancy made progress on